Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring my favourite faction in the game, the mighty Lizardmen, led by BBB's very own Coops, up against the cool Umbrella, the coolest of all waterproof wares, also representing at BBB, but the much more evil and dreadful Vampire Coast. Just hearing the name gives me a bit of a shiver, so hopefully I'm rooting for my boys, the old ones, though I do love Cool Umbrella as well, so, you know, I just want a good, fun, fat scrap. We're on Eschen here, really good, fun map. Got some nice high ground on either side of the battlefield, some trees, some open terrain. It's got a little bit of everything, kind of all what you want in a glorious map. So for the forces today of the Lizardmen, in a matchup which is considered pretty terrible for them, at least historically, it's not as bad now, but still not the best matchup in the world. We'll have to see what tricks Coops has up his sleeves to try to even the odds, and it looks like his front line is the beautiful little skinkies. I know Mr. America, who often comments on my games, is certainly going to love this one. He loves the little skinks, and we have skinks dotted all the way along the battle line, with red-crested skinks backing them up, as well as the red-crested skinks in the central portion. So a bucket ton of skinks, a decent amount of cavalry as well. We have Cold-on Riders, one on either flank. These are the basic ones. A little bit cheaper than their spear brethren. You don't need to go too crazy anti-large often against the vampires in this matchup, because they're going to try to just blow you off the map with a bucket ton of gunfire. We have the Umbral Tide, the sneakiest of all snakes, or doggos I should say. They are fire doggos born into the realms of man to slaughter and bring fiery destruction. A stalk going to help them get nice and close. We have double chameleon skinks as well as triple chameleon stalkers in a nice sneaky right-hand overload on the right portion of the battlefield. Leading the battle line, we do have a mixture of characters here. We have a Skink Priest, the Beast, with Manticore Summon and Flock of Doom, a little Skink Chief, who's always been very cost-effective, and Oxyotl himself, the mighty Doom Skink. I'm a big fan of him. I wish we got to see him a little bit more in multiplayer. I think he's very powerful indeed. Coming in here with his golden blowpipe. I didn't see that terribly often at all, so it'd be interesting to see how it fares. And he's itching his eye with his tongue. That is disgusting and beautiful at the same time. He has Master Predator and Slippery. Normally I just bring him with Master Predator, but being fully kitted certainly isn't too expensive, and I could see maybe it will come out and be pretty critical today. So for the forces of the Vampirates, up in the skies, we have a mixture of Fellbats and Deck Droppers with handguns, so the Chameleon Skinks certainly going to want to counter these guys wherever possible. A lot of undead forces in the front in the form of the rotting flesh of the polar mobs, dotted all the way along, backed up as well by some zombie pirate deckhands. We then have Sirens, one on either flank, and in the central portion of the battlefield with the Shade Wraith Gunners, who can bring some ridiculously long-range damage to the battlefield, 245 range. They're certainly going to be unleashing a payload of pain upon the Lizardmen before they can reach the front line. With the Lamprey's Revenge just in the back, one of the stickiest, tankiest, and annoying units in the game, their regeneration plus 120 armor means they're not going anywhere anytime fast. In the battle line, it is the standard gunnery white. You see this guy basically every single time Vampirates play at the moment. He comes in on a crab, he's relatively tanky, and he does have the beautiful ability as well, that lovely breath attack to flood along the enemy battle line, plus more powder is always good. We have Count Noculus, the boy, in the middle here, looking absolutely regal and dreadful at the same time, coming in with all the summons. So basically pretty good competitive stuff here. We have Captain Roth's Moondial, we have Reef Storm, Invocation Heck, and Drowned Dead. So all the basic stuff you'd expect to see from Count Noculus in a competitive game. That's going to be it for the build, so without further ado, let's get this battle underway. Very interested to see how this one goes. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a skink swarm, but how are they going to deal with the Lamprey's Revenge? That's the big problem here. The Umbral Tide, of course, are one answer, but they will need time. They will need time to drag down the Lamprey's Revenge. Despite their weakness to fire, it will take quite a few shots to actually bring them low due to the regeneration and tanky nature of them. I mean, Amaxan Barbs or Razordons are better against armor piercing, but that anti-large will help against the Lampreys, I suppose. The Sirens are going to be popping forward. I quite like them as a pick here because they're relatively decent at counter-skirmishing the enemy, because they can absorb so much damage without taking too much in return. That looks like they are about to receive some pain there as the fire does rain from the skies. Strike from the skies, Skink Brothers! And the Sirens take a considerable amount of damage and don't get that much done to the Skink cohorts. We also have Chameleon Stalkers popping up, and this unit is rather overextended. Yes, of course, they do have that lovely resistance, but it does not mean they're immune to damage, and there is so many Skinks here, they might be able to overwhelm the Sirens, which would be a big loss for the VP player. Lovely summon in the front line to slow down the advance of the Skinks was popped a tiny bit too late, though the majority are able to push through, but my god, the cohort of Sotek taking some punishment now. Refuse Die has been popped to give them the best odds of reaching the front line, so Skink cohorts are starting to move into the back line. There are Sirens, however, and Fellbats can certainly actually swoop down and jump on top of the enemy. Some Fellbats are being deleted. Sirens are starting to go down here, and not very cost effectively either. They've traded with 1 unit skink cohorts, but it looks like we are going to get an invocation of heck to keep these guys alive, and they have also held back a large contingent of the Lizardmen force away from the main fight at the battlefield. Now, the Ferromanticore is moving forward. We are going to see the first Reef Storm brought down from the deep, and boom, coming straight down onto the cohort of Sotek, who've taken so much punishment so far. The Vampire player really doesn't like these Skinkies, and he's trying to sort them out as quickly as possible. Oxyotl, as well as the Skink Chief, are just poking Count Noctilus. Not a bad idea whatsoever. Ferromanticore attempts to get to grips with the Shade Wraiths, but their ethereal state means his claws and fangs simply swipe through thin air, buying time for the Lamprey's Revenge to jump on the confused Manticore and start to finish it off for good. Very close game so far. Red Crested Skinks are getting down and dirty alongside the Skink cohorts, but they're being forced back by the Sirens, and both units are still alive and active. Now, the Umbral Tide is doing a really good job here, just deleting the deck droppers, combined as well, of course, with some of the skirmish elements. These deck droppers are falling relatively quickly now. Look at them going big old puffs of blood and fire, and even the Chameleon Stalkers doing some 360 no-scopes as they run in to meet up with the rest of the build. Left-hand side, some Skinks have rallied. Fellbats being a pain in the butt, just hunting down Oxyotl. With the assistance of the Skinks, they should be able to force these guys off the battlefield relatively quickly, and the Skink Chief is currently just aiding in taking out the Sirens by poisoning them, but another Invocation Heck should get them relatively close to their healing cap. VP player done a fantastic job of protecting his back line. These Shade Wraith Gunners completely fine right now, and he has some more deck dropper handgunners up in the skies. We do hear the cries of another Manticore being birthed into the world. Big micro mistake, though, by the Lizardman player. Coops, both your Cold One Riders need to be getting into the action to harass the enemy back line, but hey, we love a dreaded tactical reserve. The Umbral Tide, poor fellas, are getting absolutely obliterated on the way in. They're not going to like that whatsoever. Should be able to fall back and regain their stalk, though, and hopefully be able to come back into the battlefield. They are one of the coolest units in the game. I absolutely adore them. Skinks are finishing off the Fellbats here. That's going to allow Oxyotl just to kite backwards a little bit and hopefully bring some more pain onto Count Noctilus. Skink Chief is really trying to assist and take down the Sirens, but it's not going super well right now. And we only have 4 cohort of Sotek left, back-to-back fighting. Trying to drag down the Sirens have been such a huge pain for the Dino Boys all day long. Now, the Chameleons can kite for an absolute age up against the deckhand mobs, who have really poor armor. They can get some pretty impressive kills up against these guys. We have more Skinks pouring in, trying to isolate to this central portion of the battlefield. It does look like the cavalry has been remembered now. They're being pushed up here to assist with the remainder of the battle. We also have some red-crested Skinks who want to get on top of the Lamprey's Revenge and start to drag them down. Chameleon Stalkers are starting to find ways, though, into the back line, and we have some red-crested Skinks mentioned to be super sneaky and come back onto the Shade Wraith Gunners. Lovely counter-punch, though, very snappy there from the Vampire player, coming in with those zombie pirate deckhand mob summon to try to bog down the red-crested Skinks and allow the Shade Wraiths to escape once more into the deep. Cold Ones are pushing forward. They're snapping them, trying their best to get to grips with these Sirens, but by God, the Sirens been annoying so far. I don't even think their damage output's going to be insane or anything, but they've been so tanky and absorbed so much work. The Lizardmen are really struggling at the moment to overwhelm these units, get into the back line, or hop on top of these key elements. Now, Count Noctilus is being kited relatively effectively by Oxyotl and the Skink Chief, but he's a very, very tanky boy himself. Of course, being able to heal himself, 95 armor, and being a foot character. A lovely summon of the zombie pirate deckhand mobs who try to bog down Oxyotl and the Skink Priest at the same time. Not bad at all. Now, the Umbral Tide have returned to the battlefield. They are out of control, though, so they're just bomb rushing towards the enemy, and this is allowing the handgunners in the skies just to constantly pop into the rear of the Cold One Riders, doing some lovely work there. Now, we do get a big fat flock of doom come down, and a cube of darkness, in fact. We've got a Brave Storm coming in to try to counterpunch us as well and finish off the Cold One Riders, who are able to bunch up a lot of troops to allow that flock of doom to do a decent amount of damage. In the back, the Lamprey's Revenge are way too idle right now, so you can see the Chameleon Stalkers as well as Skink cohorts just, you know, they're doing the eye thing where they point at their eyes and they point at the Lamprey's Revenge, and the Lamprey's Revenge certainly have been forgotten here. They need to be coming back into this main fight because they can just mop up almost all of this infantry right now. Now, the Grey White is going to be clambering forward, trying to get to grips with the enemy and probably pop some more shots into the Umbral Tide. The infantry is not going to have too much effect on such a mighty hero, and elsewhere, the Undead are starting to carve their way through Skink cohorts pretty effectively. Count Noctilus simply has no way of catching the Skink Chief or Oxyotl, who are both just consistently annoying him wherever possible. possible. He's doing some even more summons, and the poor Skink Priest has been terrified, surrounded by Sirens, surrounded by Pirate Deckhand mobs. He's going to be running for his life, and honestly, I don't blame him too much. And we'll try do swoop in, get 1 or 2 last shots on the Sirens. Looks like they may have just done enough to make them crumble into naught but dust. Lamprey's Revenge are now coming in the rear, so both players using tactical reserves today, and the Lamprey's Revenge moving forward with those shotgun shots, doing some pretty decent damage into the back as they scuttle along the battlefield, try to get into a decent position, but the Lizardmen slowly grinding down the majority of this force, but balance power is very, very heavy right now in the favor of the Vampires, because they still have that Gunnery White as well as the Lamprey's Revenge, and there's very little here which can actually take them down. Oxyotl does do magic damage, so shooting Sirens is certainly a valuable target. We'll have to see if he's actually popping them, because he can kill multiple models per shot. So I'd love to see him pop some shots into these ladies and drag them down for good, because the Skink Chief's trying it, but he does not have magic attacks, so he is struggling far more, though. He has led a cohort of Chameleon Skinks to the battlefield, and they should be enough right now to finish off these Sirens. They're just so low HP-wise, they should start to crumble and eventually go down. Looks like Oxyotl has eyes on a bigger prize, hunting down Count Noculus and trying to shoot him where possible. Now, the Chameleon Stalkers can be trying to jump on top of this summon and rally a few of their units. A load of those units have started to run for their lives, but they certainly could come back here. It looks like we do have some Cold One Riders returning to the battlefield. Wraithstorm is brought down and it clips the Skink Priest there, who's not having a good day, to be honest. He's been getting beaten up quite bad. He's already summoned his 2 pets, so he's only got Flock of Doom left. He has been using Cube of Darkness, which is an interesting item I have almost never seen in multiplayer, but it greatly reduces the power recharge rate, which, hey, you know, certainly will help, I guess. Chameleon Skinks are now trying to focus down the Lamprey's Revenge, who have been a big pain in the butt and simply walking through the infantry of the Lizardmen and hunting down the skirmishers, which certainly isn't a bad plan whatsoever. And it looks like they're also going to be receiving an Invocation Heck, healing them up nice and healthy. Oxyotl probably still wants to continue to poke in to counter Noculus where possible, just get that damage. He's up to 107 kills so far and 1,800 damage value, so he's doing a really good job. I think this is one matchup where he is very good and probably the best legendary Lord pick for the Lizardmen in this situation. Now, the Chameleons are slowly working on the Lamprey's Revenge. There's just so much going on right now. A load of blow darts going in. We've got cavalry here. We've got Chameleon Stalkers in here. That the Lamprey's Revenge are actually starting to crumble and go down. Skink Chief, though, has found himself in combat, worryingly, with Count Noculus. Lovely play with the Gunnery White to get rid of the majority of the Skinks. And the Skink Chief here really should not be this close to Count Noculus. I know he's trying to taunt him. He's calling him all kinds of insults, and he's getting punted around by Noculus, Gunnery White, as well as the Lamprey's Revenge. We're starting to finish off the Cold One Riders, but themselves have taken so much punishment right now, but the Chameleon Skinks are out of ammunition. If we have an Invocation of Heck, they can certainly be saved, but Count Noculus getting very, very low HP-wise. Despite this bounce power, still in favor of the VP. The majority of the Lizardmen forces are like, nope, this isn't part of the old plan. We're getting out of here, and they're just running for their lives. The Chameleon Stalkers did a decent job, though, pinning in the zombie pirate deckhand mobs. They should win this fight on the left-hand side as long as their morale holds. And the longer the Dino forces hold, the better, because Oxyotl, it looks like he has no ammunition left. He still has 11, because he starts with like 50. And he should have enough right now to finish off Count Noculus at least. The Lamprey's Revenge has gone down. A lot of the other Dino forces are starting to surround this Gunnery White, and Count Noculus is just taking that like an absolute champ, standing amongst the carcasses of his king. He receives a rather nasty dart to the shoulder and goes down in an over-dramatic death. And with that, the bounce power does not budge. It is still favorites for the VP, and Oxyotl now needs to use all his ammo on this Gunnery White. He needs to kill the Gunnery White, because Oxyotl can maybe survive the shots from the deck droppers and he'll easily beat them in combat, but he is running very thin on ammo right now. Only 6 shots left. When you know Oxyotl's used that much ammunition, starting with 50, you know he's going to get some crazy value at the end of this game. There are some rallying units, but they instantly break again. The majority of the Dino boys are starting to die and run. We do get a last-second Flock of Doom. The Skink Priest returns, kind of gathers himself in the trees, looks at Oxyotl doing 360 no-scopes and goes, you know what? That's a man I would die for. Comes in with a rather nice Flock of Doom onto the deck droppers, who are actually dropping like flies right now. It seems like Oxyotl has switched targets onto them, maybe just trying to get rid of this air core and force the Gunnery White to fight in combat up against these Stalkers and get dragged down. We also have Chameleon Skinks coming back. They're really not that bad melee combatants, for skirmish at least, so they can certainly come in. I believe they do poison attacks in melee as well, and every little helps. Deck droppers should be going down here, but the Gunnery White, once again, a class play. The Vampire players played pretty good, apart from the one missed micro with the Rotten Leviathans, or not Leviathans, the renowned little boyos. The Prometheans kind of being in the wrong position, not actually getting back into the action quite quick enough, though they still did decent work across the day. Deck droppers do now go down, and it is just the Gunnery White. Oxotl should certainly flee back now. Just allow the Chameleon Skinks and other units to take this fight. Oxotl is fleeing, though he's actually out of ammunition, so this is not going too well for him, because he's simply taking extra damage. Looks like Cold-Blooded has been popped on the Chameleon Stalkers. Dino player definitely wants to get nice and aggressive now. Oxotl's popped Slippery, but there's no real saving him here. I mean, he needs to turn and fight with the rest of his troops. He is out of ammunition, and there is no way for him to gain ammunition, unfortunately. The Lizardmen don't have a restock or anything like that. So he's fleeing with his Lord, trying to push forward with the Chameleon Skinks and catch the Promethean. And this is going to be a lot of gunfire coming in, though, on Oxotl. Slippery's being popped to give him that extra speed boost, and now he's trying to run back to the friendly territory. Even the Skink Priest is looking to dart in here and take the fight to the Gunnery White. Chameleon's moving forward, and it looks like the Stalkers actually want to sit this one out at the moment. Oxotl continues to flee. He really wants to be fighting alongside his troops here. The Gunnery White's being poisoned. This is the best chance he's going to have. He does do a awesome shot there with his blowpipe, where he does that lovely little backflip and does some decent damage to the Gunnery White. But Oxotl, the annoying skink, has indeed been caught and is being chased down. Now, can the Chameleon Skinks and Chameleon Stalkers morale hold? Just enough to drag down the Gunnery White. Balance of power does not think so, as it is really heavily favored right now in Vampirates, as Oxotl does break, and he is very close to dying. And with him fleeing, the Chameleon Stalker's like, where are you going, Lord? Where are you going? We can win this! And he runs, and the Lizardmen start to lose hope. But the Gunnery White is likewise crumbling. -8 leadership. The Chameleon Stalkers are broken. Chameleon Skinks just about clinging on for dear life right now. They're the last unit left fighting. Hold! Children of the Old One! In the name of all that is good in the world, hold! They are currently on 2 leadership, and their Liege Lord returns. Oxotl pops Slippery, giving him that speed boost so he can charge into the fray once more. Rally to me, but they flee as he comes in, and it looks like he actually gets shoved to the ground relatively nastily here, but he is going to have some rallying Chameleon Stalkers, which is quite nice. Coming in to try to assist. Can Oxotl do it? 392 HP, 510 down to 452 there for the Gunnery White. Oxotl pops Cold-Blooded to keep him in the fight. His troops are surrounding him. They're jumping, they're clawing at the crab, and the dinos shall feast on crab tonight. The most Pyrrhic of all Pyrrhic victories. An incredibly tight and close game. Well played to Coops, well played to Cool Umbrella. A really awesome game all round. Oxotl, without a shadow of a doubt, the MVP, and I think he is the best pick in this matchup. He is really awesome here. 3,853 damage value, 14k damage dealt, 121 kills. Carried the day for sure. So well played to Coops, well played to Cool Umbrella. Some really lovely plays, some mistakes as well, and the guys recovering from those mistakes, which is really cool to see. Everyone makes mistakes. I know some of you guys, I can already feel the comment section be like, hey, you shouldn't have left these guys here. Trust me, everyone does it, and these guys recovered quite nicely to make it an incredibly close game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and feel free to comment down below. There's also a bucket ton of links to my Twitch, to other ways you can support the channel via Patreon, my Discord, where you can submit replays, just like Coops did here today. So massive shout out to him for sending this one in. And let's now look at the damage dealt, kills, and damage value of all of these units. Without a shadow of doubt for me, Oxotl was the MVP, taking out Count Oculus, taking out the Gunnery White, and assisting in dealing with the Sirens. So really top-notch work here. I think he is a, not necessarily a must-pick. There's a few Lords you can bring here. I quite like Crocky G as well on a Horned one, using that Hand of the Gods to assassinate characters. But Oxotl, certainly not shabby. 1,000 damage value as well on the Skink Chief. Those guys can be high-fiving after this. Only 210 on the Skink Priest, but did get both those Manticore summons off, though they weren't really able to bring the pain too much to the enemy. And the Skinks are okay across the board. Pretty standard stuff. Low hundreds. I like being 520 damage value and 63 kills. The Red Crested fared a little bit better. I really do like Red Crested Skinks now. 745 and 692 damage value isn't bad whatsoever. 18 and 51 kills. They have enough AP about them that they can also inflict damage to cavalry and monsters, and they do a little bit of everything, so I'm a big fan. Chameleon Stalkers, 72, 116, and 8 kills, with 583, no way! They got the exact same damage value, but a big difference in kills, and the last unit only 164. The Call of Sotek, only 93 damage value, one of the lowest scores you've ever seen them get, considering they're unbreakable and they can refuse to die. The Call Umbrella was like, nope, I don't like you, and he obliterated them in the early stages of the battle. Chameleon Skinks did okay, 69 kills and 33, 940 value and 496. Common Riders were left in a tactical reserve. Once they got going, they certainly got going, with just shy of 800 value and 334, so a bit of a mixed bag. I really like the Emerald Tide, 1000 damage value. They're quite a tricky unit to use, but they were able to mitigate the air presence of Call Umbrella and allow the rest of the build to shine. Skin Coils with Javelins, not performing too well. As for the Undead, Count Oculus, only 780 value, was very tanky though, absorbed a lot and did some really nice clutch summons. Gunnery White was a monster, an absolute monster, 144 kills, 2k damage value, a lot of it coming in from the item. That tier attack is just, it's so scary and so powerful. Much like the Fire Ring of Thori for the Dowie Engineers. The infantry just kind of held the line. It died, of course, but that was its job here. Pretty decent kills for Undead, though. 97, 48, 61, 75. Big kills, but again, like the Skinks, kind of mid to lower hundreds for their damage value. Now, the Sirens were an interesting choice. 745 and 697 damage value is not shabby whatsoever. 82 and 75 kills. The terror, the holding the line, the push in the back of the Lizardmen. They were such a sticky unit. I do think Oxotl, I think he mainly focused Count Knuckles, which certainly isn't a bad idea, but if you get down the flanks of the Sirens, you can kill 3 to kind of 6, 7, 8 models sometimes per shot, and you just drag them down so quickly. Shadowwave Gunners over 1000 value, applying a lot of pressure. Quite grumpy with them though, because they hurt my poor Umbral Tide, and I love the Umbral Tide, so bad Shadowwave Gunners. Although very well played by Call Umbrella to protect them as long as he did. Robots did okay, but kind of got obliterated going after Oxyotl, just trying to distract him, and it didn't really pay off. And the Gunners up in the skies, this unit only 280 value, being slaughtered by the Umbral Tide. The other 920, not too shabby. 1.5k value, however, on the Lamprey's Revenge. Very, very nice stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a good fun cast. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.